Hello, everybody. This is Disgaea 5, Alliance of Vengeance. I am GreenZSaber, and behind me is...
I'm GhostKing. Next to me is Kirby Master and...
Gamesswag with 2 S's.
Oh, I don't think...
No, he's not on.
Hide.
No. Not yet. You'll see plenty of that.
All right. So this is Disgaea 5, Alliance of Vengeance. This is the first Switch RPG released for the West. And before I begin, I need to load a save to get my settings calibrated. And then I'll show off these settings real quick, because to play this game really quickly, we need to make sure our settings are properly set so that the game will run at the fastest speed as possible. And I'm going to be playing as fast as the game will allow me to. This is a very fast, very intense run. There's going to be a lot going on, so hopefully we can get everything up to speed. So just real quick here, these are the settings. And do we want to talk about the donation incentive that just opened up recently?
Sure.
Certainly. So we have a special announcement. GreenZSaber has revealed a bonus incentive. If $5,000 are donated for this incentive by the end of this run, he will show off Nisa, a DLC character. So if the Neptunia fan base wants to see some representation here, let's see some donations.
All right, excellent. So that's what we have planned. And are we all ready?
Yes.
I'm all ready.
All right. I also have a challenge for anyone watching at home. I want you all to count how many times Dude shows up during this run. See if you can keep track. All right? Okay, without further ado, let's go. We do not have much time.
Good luck. So welcome everybody to Disgaea 5. This is a strategy RPG developed by Nipponichi Software. This is the 5th game in the series, as the title suggests. Well, actually, it's the 6th game, but I'll get into details. So this is similar to like Fire Emblem and Final Fantasy Tactics, if those were just raked up to 11. So we're playing as our main character by the name of Kilia. It's kind of an edgy name that fits his backstory. And his whole deal, he's going to be our main unit that we use for the entirety of the run, along with one other character we're going to be getting later. And he just has several different weapon types that we'll be using.
Also, I need the name incentives for the printies. Yeah. What are the name incentives?
All right, do we need 3?
Yes.
All right, so the first one is My Dude.
Okay.
Is it D-O-O-D or
D-O-O-D.
Okay.
I need a space. Is there a space?
There is, and okay. Capital D as well.
All right.
It's not even Wednesday.
Wow.
It's Wednesday here.
It's always Wednesday, my dude.
All right, what's the next name?
The next name is simply Dude.
All right, that's easy enough. And the third name?
Well, I hope you're ready for this one. It's Doop Doop Doopy Doo.
All right.
Rip Jeff.
D-O-O-P, D-O-O-P.
Doopy.
Okay, I don't think this is going to fit. So let's see if it will. Yeah, that's it. Oh, well.
It's all good.
Oh, you're right. I also need to make my other characters. So let's just go back in here.
Yeah, so while we are primarily using Kilia for damage and wiping out enemies, as every map in this game you have to take out all enemies, he is making a bunch of different characters for utility roles.
Yes, and I'm making warriors that are going to be used for lifting and throwing later on, and we'll explain that when we get around to it.
All right, so the start of this run is mostly a very simple strategy. You're going to do nothing but just punch things in the face.
Pretty much.
Yes, the combat in this particular episode is very simple. All we're going to do is move up to things and literally just punch them in the face until they die.
Yeah, the important thing with using the fist weapon, because Killia can use a bunch of different types of weapons. The reason why fist is that's his default weapon, so you don't have to equip anything new, as well as it has a high chance of a counterattack, which is your main means of taking out enemies when it is on their turn. Because normally the way this game works is all of your characters kind of take their turns in a row, and then when you end phase, all of the enemies do all their actions at once.
Yeah, the counterattacks in this game are going to be a real source of RNG for how fast we can go, because obviously if we can get hit and hit them back, then that will go faster.
Right. In this episode, we just want to see a lot of counterattacks as possible, and that allows us to go fast. Unfortunately, we can't really control that. So we just have to hope for the best.
Yeah, so this game is divided into 16 different episodes with 5 levels in each of them. So that's a grand total of about 80 levels, as well as a bunch of levels that we're going to have to do along the way in order to...
get up to speed.
Yeah, get up to speed. So it ends up coming out to about 100 levels in less than an hour. You'll notice, if you're familiar with
the 90 minutes.
Yeah, less than the 90 minutes. An hour and a half, I was going to say. You'll notice actually that he's not going to the hospital after each level. If you're familiar with the Disgaea games, there's a unit in the base that is called the hospital, and she heals you up to full for a cost. This level is a little nice because there's a neutral unit by the name of Red Magnus over there. Neutral units you don't have to actually kill. They'll target either you or your opponents, and usually you want them to target the enemies, but they're just kind of nice because a lot of them are strong enough to take out a few units on their own.
All right, so I'm just going to let Red Magnus kill that one unit, and that's the end of episode 1. And we also get a trophy at the end of every episode. This is the Switch version that I'm playing. This was originally a PS4 game, which has trophies, so they just incorporated that into an in-game feature in the Switch version. So we will be seeing trophies pop up every now and then, just like in the PS4, which is a nice touch. So after every episode, we usually get some upgrades on our store so we can buy better stuff. I just bought some better equipment, some better healing items, and I'm going to buy this thing called an ability, which is a passive ability. And the ability I bought, Mean Guy, it essentially increases the attack that Killia gets upon leveling up. And now we're going to go to episode 2, and we'll be introduced to geo effects.
Yeah, so geo effects, whenever there are these colored panels, if there are any of these little pyramids on them, they cause what is called a geo effect, so that all panels of the color that geo symbol is on will have the geo symbol's effect, which can be stuff like attack plus 50, attack minus 50, enemy boost, which we really don't like. And if you ever attack a geo symbol, it will change all the geo panels underneath it to the color of the symbol that you destroyed.
All right, right here we want to get Killia to level 8 because he learned a very important skill which he just did, Exploding Tiger. Exploding Tiger is a water elemental skill, and we need it because we are going to need it for the slimes. Slimes are very resistant to physical attacks but very weak to the elements. And in this game there are 4 elements: fire, wind, water, and star. And I'm going to need to heal because that's a lot of damage. You can see how potent the healing items are in this game. I used one of them and it just healed Killia to full HP. So we really don't need a healer at this stage of the game just because healing items are so effective. All right, so I'm also going to use an SP healing item. SP is essentially skill points. It's like MP, magic points in other games. You just need them to use skills. So you'll notice that a lot of the enemies don't move most of the time. That's because most stages have them with a passive AI, which means they're not going to move towards you unless you get within their attack range. So for the most part, we are just going to be moving towards enemies and then just hitting them with the most effective skills, which most of the time kills them in one hit.
Yeah, so it's important to note that while there is no strictly RNG manipulation in this game, all AI can be manipulated. And this is something you can kind of figure out just playing the games for yourself, is that enemies have sort of a somewhat predictable AI. Yeah. And you can actually if you know what you're doing in a speed run, you can pretty much guarantee that enemies will always move the same way if you take the same actions.
Essentially, what happens is the enemy movement in this game is solely determined by the positions of the enemy units, or all units at the end of the turn. So if you end a turn on the same exact layout of the units, the enemies will move the same way every single time. And we're going to exploit that a little bit just so we can group enemies that are usually inconvenient to fight single-handedly together.
Yeah, so what he did just there was he attacked a geosymbol, and then that can cause a chain effect for any geosymbols of a different color that are on that same color. And one of them is actually a geosymbol null, which if you blow up every single geosymbol or geopanel on the stage, it creates this explosion which does a good amount of damage to enemies, as well as gets rid of all the panels, creates a flashy effect. And in that particular map, he wanted to do that because it sets off one of the enemy units' AI so that they actually come down off of this tower. Because height is an additional mechanic in this game. Enemies on a higher elevation, sometimes if they're really high up, you can't actually target them with your skills. So you want to bring them down.
All right, so here there's going to be a lot of zombie enemies, and they have a chance to poison you. And that's going to be an RNG. Right here,
there.
he just got poisoned. So now he's going to have to pull out an ally and put a fairy dust on him to get rid of that, because you lose 20% HP per turn for being poisoned. And it doesn't matter what level you are, how many HP you have, you lose 20% every time, which is quite costly.
All right, so once the zombies are gone, the boss is going to come towards us slowly. He's not that much more threatening than the other enemies. He just has a lot more HP. So we're not getting the best of luck here since we're getting poisoned a lot, but at least we can show off these printies here. So now that the zombies are gone, we just have the boss left. I'm gonna just attack him from behind as much as possible, because you do get a bonus damage modifier when you attack things from behind. And that's the end of episode 2. So now we're going to go to episode 3, and this is where a lot of the features open up. And we're gonna see this game has a lot of speed tech built into it, just because the developers decided to streamline most of the gameplay to make it easier for newer players to get into. And by extension, that means we have a lot of innate speed tech built in, and we're going to see some of that in this upcoming episode. But first, we're going to go to the strategy assembly and try to pass bills, which essentially unlocks new features. And right there, I passed a bill that unlock better items at the store, and I'm gonna pass this next build to unlock the cheat shop, which is a feature that we will use later. We'll explain it when we get to use it. And now we're going to go to the Evility shop and buy a couple Abilities, Poison Vaccine, which makes me immune to poison, so I no longer have to deal with that nasty status effect. And the Jewel Blossom, which is a better sword for Killia, and a couple life jackets for better defense. And we got some better healing items unlocked, so we're just going to buy that and a couple fairy dust for good measure, and we're off to the next stage. Now, starting from this stage, we're going to see a lot of what makes some of the new features that makes this game so fast.
Yeah. So as you can see, there's a lot of pink panels there. If he stands on those would ordinarily poison him, but thanks to Poison Vaccine, we don't have to worry about that. And so this chapter introduces squads, as well as what is called squad attack, which is what he's doing here. Squad attack is one of the most overpowered skills in the run. And the way it works is when your character hits revenge mode, which is indicated by a little purple meter next to the character portrait and an R that appears above their head, the character can use squad attack once per stage. And what squad attack does is enemies, as well as your allies, are designated in squads. The Lost, which is the name of the army that we're fighting against, have up to 3 different squads that they are members of. So GreenZSaber has routed out which enemies are part of which squads, and therefore which ones are most efficient to use squad attack against. It will hit enemies of the same squad. If you target one member of a squad, it will hit anyone regardless of where they are on the map. So even if you hit an enemy right next to you at the start, it could hit somebody so far off you wouldn't even see them.
All right, we're going to demonstrate squad attack again here. So I just target this one imp, and then I killed every single imp on the map. And that's great because imps are ranged units, so they like to stay away from you. So we want to use squad attack on enemies that are really annoying, like those imps. All right, we do have time for a donation if you want one.
All right, we have $15 from Kyo's Little Monster.
Yo, Kios.
Hey, Kios.
And he says, "Hey, GreenZ, it's your couch commentator from RPG Limit Break. Sorry I couldn't make it to support you for this run, but best of luck. Don't forget your curry, dude." No! Dude.
Thanks, dude.
Got time for another?
Yes.
All right, so how about one from Renico26? "Hey, GreenZSaber, Renico here. Thanks to you and your chat for inspiring me to get running Disgaea 5 even with my disability. I hope people see that the Disgaea series can be run, let alone played, by anyone. May the run be fast and the cries of 'No, dude!' never get old."
Thank you.
Nepu.
So this chapter is really interesting. Most of the enemies in this map will be kind of driven towards you, and enemies will be affected by poison, but we won't. So they're going to just kind of slowly die off over the course of several turns.
Yeah, they're very aggressive in this stage, unlike previous stages where they were very passive. So we'll just exploit that by luring them with the Poison Sea. So if you notice right there, there's a healer on the other side of the map. So I'm going to target a specific unit, and it's going to kill off the healer, hopefully, because she's in the same spot as the unit I targeted. So we just killed off a unit that was way off on the other end of the map, so we don't even really need to get to her. Okay, so Killia dies, which is not a big deal because he's already inflicted with poison, so we just wait it out, and that's the end of that. Now, we are going to stumble upon a little roadblock here. We need to go to the item world to progress the plot. But first, we're going to use this cheat shop a little bit to raise the experience and that we get from enemies and the enemy strength, because the item that we're going to is really weak.
Yeah, so he wants to go to the item world to get a little bit more EXP. The enemies are super weak that even buffing them to max level, which the cheat shot enables you to do, they only go from level 4 to level 13. Ordinarily, that will buff enemies up from like level, say, 10 to in the hundreds, because this game's level cap is absurd. So the item world is a feature in the Disgaea series. It does something a little different in each game, but it's essentially to level up an item. The dungeon is randomly generated, so it is one of the elements of RNG, and kind of where the skill comes into play with item world is you have to kind of look at the map and immediately figure out what the best course of action is.
Yes, this is all randomized, so the only way to go fast is to just quickly discern what actions you want to take well ahead of time. There is basically no hesitating if you want to go fast in this section.
Yeah, so in Disgaea 5, as opposed to some of the earlier installments of this series, you have to wipe out every enemy on the map in order to increase the item level of whatever you put into the item world. And he needs to raise his to level 10 in order to progress the story. Item World is normally a post-game feature that a lot of people have fun with in this series, but we're not going to be going here too often.
Okay, we got a good random event here. This is a green orb is a level sphere. When I destroy it, I will get 2 levels for the item. So it's nice that we got a good effect here. So we will be able to leave the item before we get to floor 10. So there are random events like this one that can cost us some time because they simply aren't really useful for leveling up the item.
Yeah, so just that little tutorial that it tells you about costs you a little bit of time.
Let's go.
It's hard to keep up, isn't it?
Yes, and geo effects are also random, so we might see some nasty ones like clone, turbo ×3, enemy turbo ×3, death blow, which basically means one hit kill anything that's on the panel. And we're almost done with this section because of the level sphere. So I just need to clear this one floor, and then I'm going to use a Mr. Gensi exit to exit the item. Oh, wow. We got the Prinny room. Wow. I want to do this room. I want to do this room so bad, but unfortunately, it's going to be really slow. So we can't. I'm sorry.
You just know that this run is blessed. Yeah, so he hit level 10 a little bit earlier. Normally you have to get to the 10th floor, and then the game will kind of use that as a checkpoint where you can manually leave. But the game also gives you these items called Mr. Jensi's exits, which allow you to leave it early.
Fix you up.
All right, we're going to turn the enemy's strength back to the default so we can actually kill them and then heal up, and then we're going to go to the next stage.
Yeah. So kind of we touched on what the cheat swap does. Essentially, you can manually allocate how much of a given resource you get. So he takes out, so he gets less weapon EXP and money and resources, but he does get much more experience. So this level is really interesting. There are 3 different kinds of areas of enemies up at the top, on the right, and on the left. So he's going to go first to the right, and then bring over some bait printies to bait out the enemies towards the left, which he's going to use SWAT attack to just completely wipe out. And then now he's just basically taking care of 2 sides while he's let these neutral characters take care of the third. So he really only has to wait out the rest of this level because the neutral characters are strong enough to take out the top mobs. Usually in a casual playthrough, you kind of go up that way to take out enemies because you want your characters to get experience, but experience is more carefully routed out in this run.
All right, so episode 4, we're going to do a little bit of setup first before we proceed. Now I'm going to go to the weapon shop and buy 100 of the weakest fist item, which is a thimble, and that'll be important for later. Now I'm going to get some abilities, and the one I want right now is muscle increase, which increases the attack stat by 10%, which will allow us to secure 1-hit kills on most of the enemies in this episode. All right, so now that we talked to that yellow printing to progress the plot, we can actually go to the proper story map.
So this next level, we're going to see a bunch of printies. These printies are from a completely separate netherworld, and they're more like ninja printies. So they don't make the familiar sound effects. Oh, no. Oh, my God.
Yeah. So all I have to do is stay in this one spot and just hit them with my area of effect skills, and that's the end of that stage.
Yeah, so this area, you kind of start to notice another netherworld effect, which each chapter sort of has. In this world, randomly on each turn, a mushroom will pop up, and this kind of is really annoying. They don't do anything specifically but in the case of the run, the thing that they can do to be annoying is raise the elevation of an enemy so that something like Blade Rush might not hit all enemies that you want it to. And so that just gets annoying because it means having to take care of more enemies.
Right. So we do have time for a donation if you got one.
We have a few, but I can just read one for now. We have $35 from Joshy Matt saying, "Can't believe someone can actually speedrun a Disgaea game. I took a vacation day from work just to watch this. Donation goes to Runner's Choice."
All right.
In fact, every game in the series has been speedrun to some capacity. So.
Yeah, this is just the fastest Disgaea speedrun, just because you can eliminate every single thing that isn't gameplay related. So skip all cutscenes, all tutorials, they can all be skipped. So it's just a lot of inputs.
Yeah, so right here, what he's doing is chaining together characters because you can actually what they call tower stack, and this is important because this allows us to get to the other end of the map in a single turn. And on the other end of the map are 2 geosymbols, one that has silence, which causes attacks, special skills to not be usable, and clone, which will randomly clone one enemy on the map, so they will just kind of randomly be generated on some random tile of the map. So that becomes a level of randomness that we don't want to have to deal with. So we take care of the clone symbol as soon as we can.
All right, so you might have noticed me bringing out some of my weaker characters at the end and just leaving them out there once in a while. So,
all right, that's due to the sacrifice strategy. What we do is we bring out these weaker units so they can get 1-hit KO'd by the enemies, and then that'll build up our revenge gauge so we can just go and do a squad attack and take out half the map.
Essentially what happens is you get a lot of revenge meter whenever one of your allies dies. So Killia needs 3 units to die before he goes into revenge mode from an empty meter.
Let's go.
So this is a strategy that I will be utilizing a lot, and it's a very powerful strategy, one that a lot of people do not know about. But it is one of the most powerful strategies that is used in the speedrun, because it allows me to manipulate to some extent how big my revenge meter is.
So there's this yellow neutral unit by the name of Usalia, who's kind of going berserk on the enemies. So Usalia is actually a very important story character and also the best character in the game, if you ask me. And she is, because of this, if she dies on this chapter, it causes a bad ending. And this is kind of annoying because she likes to attack just randomly, and she might attack us, and a crit counterattack would do a lot of damage to her. So he's just gonna kind of leave her to her own devices and actually heal her to make sure she doesn't die.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get away from here, and then I'll just leave the rest to her, because she's got enough HP to survive everything. And that's the end of that stage.
Yeah. So she's kind of gone berserk for story reasons. We haven't really touched on the story of this game. The basic overview is there's a big evil dark lord by the name of Void Dark, who is taking over all the netherworlds and completely just either destroying or enslaving all of their inhabitants. That's pretty much all you really need to know, because we're going way too fast to explain any of it.
All right, this is a very big setup episode. So right now we're going to get Usalia, put her in the Foot Soldier Squad, which increases the stats of all the units in the squad by 10%. And then we're going to go unlock the curry shop. And the curry allows you to make a curry out of any number of items. So I'm going to make a curry, but not use it. It'll be used in a little bit.
Delicious cotton candy and thimble curry.
And then I'm going to go raise the experience that I get from enemies, and then raise the enemy levels. And I'm going to buy better healing items. And I'm going to buy 100 more thimbles, and then a couple of weapons for Killia, and then I'm going to swap his abilities to Paralysis and Weaken Vaccine, which are status effects that will be used by the upcoming enemies, so we don't need to worry about them. Then I'm going to go to this stage, because we're going to do some grinding, because yes, it is actually faster to grind to speedrun this game. I have done a run where I didn't grind at all, and it's way longer.
Important on this map, actually, is the enemies are manageable, even at enemy level 16, which is the optimal level we can set them to for experience. And there's also a geo panel that boosts experience by 50%. So Usalia is actually a designated monster class, and that allows her to perform an ability called Magic Change, which means that she turns herself into a weapon and equips herself to one of your characters. This is important in this particular case, not because she offers any real benefit here, but this does mean that she's going to get levels as well as mana, which is used for getting abilities and upgrading skills. So he wants her to be able to keep up, and in Magic Changing, both her and Killia get maximum EXP.
All right, so the purpose of that stage was to unlock the skill Hellfire Shot, which he just did in that chapter, that stage. Now I'm going to eat the curry, and we're going to make another one like it. So every time you put a thimble or any fist item in the curry, it will raise the critical hit by 1%. So right now we have a 100% critical hit rate, which does 50% extra damage, and we need all the attack power we can get, because these enemies are level 99, and we're going to be fighting them really under-leveled with a level 48 Killia. However, we can actually defeat these level 99 enemies because of the way damage works in this game. So every single unit in this game has a weapon weakness and an elemental weakness, more like resistances, rather.
Yeah. The most important thing with Usalia there is she has a skill called Braveheart from the very beginning, pretty much, of the run. And that allows him to buff Killia's attack. So while these enemies are set to level 99, they're just barely manageable. And at level 99, an enemy gives the same amount of experience that they give at level 323. This isn't a glitch, it's more a quirk in the mechanics of the Disgaea games. So every game in the series has this. It's one of those little useful tidbits. If you know this, it helps you grind considerably faster, which, while any percent does pretty much just the story mode of the game, there is a whole lot of post-game content, like to the point where many people say the post-game is the real game. So there's just a whole lot to mess with in this game. Part of what I really like about it.
So these mushroom enemies are weak to sword, which I am using, and they're also weak to fire, which Hellfire Shot is, a fire elemental skill. So if you couple that together with Braveheart, which is a buff skill that increases Killia's attack and the Curry critical hit rate, that's a lot of damage, and that allows us to handle these mushrooms with ease.
Yeah, so we started this chapter in the 40s. Right now he's level 94.
So you can see just how fast the levels go if you know the right places to do.
Yeah, this is kind of the step they don't really intend for you to figure out, but they program into the game like after you've kind of built up a lot of knowledge. So it's really useful in routing out beating the game really fast.
It's the cheat shop.
So now he's going to lower his EXP and lower the enemy levels again, and now he's going to make sure that he gets more money.
All right, so I'm going to buy a fist for Killia and some shoes for Killia, and then we are ready to go to the next story stage. And at this point, we are way over-leveled compared to the enemies. These enemies that we're going to face are level 20, and we have a level 101 Killia on our side.
All right, so there we just switched to a spear, and we did that because the spear has a range of 2. And counterattacks in this game are affected by the range of your regular attack. So we can now kill enemies from up to 2 tiles away on enemy turns, which obviously makes things a lot faster.
All right, so everything that isn't a boss is going to be dying in one hit for most of these episodes. However, there are still ways to speed up these maps, because we are still dealing with a lot of enemies despite being over-leveled. So, like for example, for this stage, the main way to go fast in this map is to take care of the red enemies. And once most of the red enemies are gone, and you're in revenge mode, you will just use a squad attack to wipe out most of them. So right here we have an enemy base panel, which spawns an enemy each turn up until a certain point. And at this point, it ran out of enemies to spawn, so we just clean up all the rest of the surviving enemies.
So this map in particular is really annoying. In fact, in the last shop menu, he picked up an item of boots, which increased a particular stat called jump. And the way jump works is your character can move up a certain number of units. And ordinarily, this chapter, this level, they want you to kind of build up a staircase with these ice blocks. But if you set your jump stat high enough, you can just walk up these cliffs.
Right.
In this run, a lot of what we're doing is the AI pathing manipulation. So in this level, you can really see it. You specifically stand on certain tiles in order to draw the most enemies.
So right here, I stood on this specific, ended my turn in this specific spot, and the healer and chimera just group up together so I can kill them in one attack.
Yeah, because many of your special skills will have a variety of different ranges. Right there, Hellfire Shot, the way it works is it has sort of a plus shape, so you can hit up to 5 enemies if they're standing in those 5 spaces.
All right, so this is a boss stage. As you can see, the boss does take at least 2 hits to kill, but if we are in revenge mode, we can one-shot them because Curry does not last forever. It lasts only up to a certain number of stages, and with revenge mode, you do actually get 100% critical hit rate when you enter it. So sometimes we don't need too many Curry effects to get by.
Yes.
Now for this upcoming episode, we don't need to do anything special as far as setup goes, so we just go on to the next stage.
So you saw there, actually, there was an enemy that says Eusalio's father. She was having to deal with a necromancer, which is why she went berserk several chapters ago, episodes ago. So in this particular level, the concern is an enemy type called the ninja. And ninja have an ability that causes them to have a 50% chance of dodging your attack if you're standing right next to them. So not only is the spear really handy here because of that 2 range for counterattacks, but Hellfire Shot's also really useful because it can attack enemies multiple squares away.
Alright, so we just have the boss, and I'm just gonna attack her until she dies. If I get next to her, I get a little text box with some dialogue that we don't want to see.
Let's end this
Alright,
quick.
so we do have time for another donation or 2.
I just want to make a little note. So before this run started, we had a $10,000 donation from Funhouse. Well, it turns out they contributed yet another $10,000. And then on top of that, a $1,564.54 donation, making for a total of $21,564.54.
Woo! Thank you very much.
Got time for another?
Sure.
All right, we have $1,500 from Jadrin saying, now the Prinnies have enough money to buy a ton of sardines. Heck yeah, dude. Just kidding. This is going to Doctors Without Borders, so no sardines for you. Oh, why does this always happen to us, dude?
Oh, dude. Yeah, the Prinnies are sort of the lost souls of wasted lives who did petty things in their lives. So they were sewn into this little penguin body, and they're kind of just the butt of every joke in the Disgaea series.
All right, so you might notice that I'm not sacrificing my units on every stage. That's because some stages have the base panel too far away from the enemies, but certain stages like this one, it's beneficial to sacrifice our allies to force revenge mode because you can just take out a lot of enemies, just like I just did earlier, where I took out about 10 enemies with just one squad attack. So for most of the stages that we can use the sacrifice strategy to force revenge mode, we will use it. But for a stage like this, we can't, because as you can see, the base panel is just too far apart from the enemies. Now, this stage is one of the more unpredictable stages because there's this neutral army that's attacking the main enemy army, and there's no telling what units are going to be alive at the end of, by the time we reach that center area, because stuff like counterattacks is random. So
yeah, there's also missing and criticals as well. So
right.
And then as well as a mechanic called nicking, which is sometimes you get an attack and it ends up being less effective. And this is one of the other areas of randomness in this game.
All right, so we are going to use squad attack to wipe out the remaining units that are not in the same squad as the boss. So we just have the boss to deal with. He's a fairly tanky unit, so I'll just attack him from behind until he dies. And that's the end of that. And then coming up, we have a boss fight with a recurring boss whose name is Bloodis. He's one of Void Dark's demon generals, and the way to handle him is simple. You just swap your weapon to a fist and repeatedly punch him to death.
Yeah, this fight's so easy, he could do it blindfolded.
So, and that's Bloodis. He just has a lot of HP, so he takes a lot of hits. But the reason we swap to a fist is because Bloodis is weak to fist. So the mere act of swapping your weapon, because you can hold two weapons in this game because you have the ability to swap them at the touch of a button. And exploiting weapon resistances and elemental resistance is very important in optimizing our damage output. So right here I bought a few abilities, the most notable being Shaking Excitement. Shaking Excitement is a very powerful ability in the speed run because it gives Killia 3% extra stats for each enemy on the map. And it's very powerful for this upcoming stage actually because we can just use the sacrifice strategy to force Killia into revenge mode, and we're going to use a squad attack to wipe out over half of the stage, just like that.
So you notice he pulled out a unit by the name of Christo, this green-haired guy. He's kind of like the main tactician in the army, but his main purpose in the run is to stand next to our characters because he having him do that is pretty much the only reliable means to get 100% accuracy. Mm-hmm. So all of your attacks in this game have a 99% accuracy normally, which is usually good enough. But sometimes that 1% can be a real annoyance when you're hitting, 20 enemies with squad attack. And even more so on this particular section, the Netherworld effect here lowers accuracy. So we want to guarantee that squad attack will kill enemies. Otherwise, you're going to have to go on a very long trek to go and bait them out.
All right. So we do have time for a couple donations.
Absolutely. We have $50 from Court that just says, dude!
All right, any others?
Give me just one moment. How about $25 from Kona Rican? The Disgaea series has been my favorite strategy game in the series ever since the tutorial of the first game. What other game asks, does it make sense to beat up your allies?
No. It doesn't make sense to beat up your allies. You let the enemies do it for you.
Yeah, one of the things I've always kind of enjoyed about this game and the series as a whole is rather than like force you to feel like you really have to do everything, you know, really carefully, you can kind of just let loose and enjoy. In fact, the game actually rewards you for getting hit a whole lot in some ways in the form of the hospital rewards. So there are these enemies here. They're bears. They have very much HP.
Yeah,
I had to do one.
So we're not going to be able to one-shot these most of the time, but we can two-shot them, so that's good enough for us. Those purple-haired enemies are armor knights. They're the tank units of this game, so they have this ability where if they're defending, they will rush towards a unit that you're attacking and take the hit for them.
Another part of this run that we try to do is we kill certain enemies at certain points with the routing, so we can avoid enemy skill animations, because a skill animation is played the first time at a scene. So we save time by killing certain enemies at certain times to skip some rather long ones.
Yeah, there's a lot of different attacks we don't get to see. And the animations, while they are some of the best parts of this game, they are also time-consuming. So he has actually routed it out so that certain enemies that have skill actions that you don't see too often, he's going to take those out as fast as he can so we never have to see them.
All right.
It's also being played at 4 times speed, another reason why this game is as fast as it is.
Well, it's normal speed for me.
Yeah, you can hold down B and speed it up. Or
I've been playing this series since 2008 at least, so I know my way around these games.
yeah. So, is Bloodus again? We need to just get into another Mike Tyson spot punch out with him.
Right, and that's the end of Bloodus, and that's the end of episode 7. So we're almost halfway through the game at this point. And it's not going to be this easy for all throughout, because the enemies are going to get a lot stronger. And actually, we are going to use the curry right now because we need that 100% critical hit rate, just because the enemies are going to get a lot tougher from here on out. So having that 100% critical hit rate will allow us to just one-shot most of these enemies now. The thing about curry is that it will last for a certain number of maps, but as you do more stages, it will increase the number of maps that it'll last for. So right now, the curry is going to last for about 15 or so stages, which means it'll last until the next couple of episodes. All right, so that's a very basic stage, not much to talk about there.
Those poor Erringers.
Now, this stage has a very interesting strategy. So I'm going to try to get revenge mode as soon as possible. First, I can take out this unit. Then I'm going to go try to get revenge mode right now. Then I'm going to use squad attack on this imp. So the armor knight is actually going to block the squad attack and take the squad attack for the imp. And that's what I actually want to do, because what just happened is I just killed off 2 units that were way on the other side of the map, so I don't even have to see them. And there are multiple instances in the run where we kill enemies that are just off screen.
Yeah, there's a unit called Armor Knight, which will just swap themselves and take the blow for you. This chapter's kind of, this level is kind of interesting. In what you do is you can actually throw enemies out of bounds and they die instantly. And this is important because there are 2 squads of succubuses, and those...
and I just killed one squad.
He basically took out 1 squad before that they could activate the clone panel effect there. So the nice thing about cloning is enemies that are cloned are of the same squad as the original. So if he uses squad attack on one of them, it's going to hit all of the others. So it doesn't matter how many get cloned.
And that's the end of those succubuses. Succubi, whatever you want to call it. And we just have one more unit to take care of, and that's in that stage. All right, so the next stage is just going to be very basic. I just warp to one area, take out the enemies, and warp to the other area. So if you want to read a few more donations, go ahead.
All right, I just want to take a moment to update you on the bonus main character scenario bid war. So in a clear lead right now with $1,055 is Laharl from Disgaea 1. Following up from there with $275, that'd be Mal from Disgaea 3. Then with $170, Adele from Disgaea 2. And with only $50, we have Valvatores from Disgaea 4. So if you happen to want to see him as the bonus main character scenario, you've got a lot of work to do. We're also almost halfway to the donation incentive to get Nisa after the game. So
you got about 45 minutes left to go.
All right, do we have time for a couple of donations?
Sure, this is just blood. We already explained them.
Okay, we have $25 from Dragoon. Disgaea is a great series. Excited to see the run, dude. Please be nice to the Frennies, dude.
No! Dude.
We have $50 from Al Shiny Hunter. This DLC character sounds cool, dude.
All right, so I'm gonna take a moment to upgrade Killia's equipment because right now we have been mostly using shoes, which means he's lacking in the defense department. And at this point in the game, the enemies can deal some significant damage to Killia, even though he's way over the level. So we just have to get him some defensive gear to make sure he survives.
Let's go. All right, on this map, they introduce a new enemy type, which is the Wrestler. And they can throw people, which is extremely annoying. But even worse, they can throw you, which will cost you a turn, so it's very time consuming. So we make sure we try to get rid of them as fast as possible or stay away from them when we can.
Right. This is one of those units that's very dangerous. You really, really do not want to get lifted. You lose about 10 seconds if you get lifted. And that is a lot in this game because we do a lot of stages in the speed run. All right, so right here I'm going to magic change a couple of monster characters. And as GhostKing explained earlier, magic change characters do get the same amount of experience as the human character that's wielding them. So what I'm doing with this is I'm trying to level up their subclasses because subclasses are a thing in this game where every single class has a subclass associated with it, and any unit can switch to that job's subclass. And ranking up a subclass is done as you kill things. And when subclasses rank up, you get some abilities, and you can also unlock classes. Right here, I'm trying to rank up my monster subclasses so I can unlock a very useful class later on.
Let's go.
All right, so this stage is one of those stages where we make use of squad attack again, and right when I end my turn, those 3 cats are gonna group up in an L shape, so I can just kill them with Hellfire Shot. Essentially, what I want to do is focus on the cat enemies, and then when I get revenge mode eventually, I'm going to use a squad attack on those human archer enemies, and then I'll just kill all of them.
It's worth noting that the Netherworld effect of this particular chapter is fire resistance of all units on the map go down by 50%. And Hellfire Shot conveniently happens to be a fire-based skill, so not only does it have a good area of effect, but it's also just really useful at wiping out enemies that might not otherwise be completely one-shot.
All right, so I think we've said all about needs to be said for this episode, so if you want to throw in a few more donations there, be my guest.
Absolutely. We have $20 from Red Mage 3555. Keep this donation train rolling. Chugga chugga choo choo. 3 million hype. We've got a $150 donation from Chisos. It's just a smiley face.
Nice.
And we have a $25 donation from Davey Inatoga. Recently finished this game a few weeks ago, getting excited to see it completely destroyed in a fraction of the time it took me casually. Dude,
The thing about this speed run is that it's very casual friendly. I'm not really using any glitches. There are no really complicated timing-based inputs in this run. I'm just playing the game normally, but quickly. So anyone can really learn how to speedrun this game. They just need to take the time to understand the game mechanics and put in the effort to learn these stages. And this game conveniently has a retry feature where you can just retry the stage you were at, kind of like a save state, almost.
Yeah, just set right before the beginning of the level, basically.
So this is a very setup-heavy episode. So right now I'm gonna unlock the Magic Knight class, which I met the requirements by doing that magic change earlier. I'm gonna buy Killia the best sword and the weakest gun, a water pistol, and then I'm gonna buy a bravery belt for more attack. And then I'm gonna change his abilities so he gets muscle increase and a few boosting abilities for grinding. Then I'm gonna go change Killia and Usalia's subclasses right now. Kill it to a Magic Knight, Usalia to a Warrior, and then I'm gonna pass this Bill, which is one of the most RNG heavy moments. Oh wow, first try. That Bill.
That's like a 1 in 3 chance that you have 14 tries at, essentially.
I have had over 20 attempts at this particular Bill once. So just to give you an idea of how frustrating that Bill can be.
Those item world pretties bless the run, dude.
Yeah. Every time I fail to pass that Bill, I lose at least 7 seconds.
So here we have level 99 enemies again, obviously for the extra experience. And this is going to be a level that we're going to grind on a bit. So we're going to beat this stage 14 times. And what's important to note about it is we're going to level Killia and Usalia at the same time. And we equip that water pistol so we can get the water element, because these guys are weak to it. And then we can just have Usalia come out and kill them.
Let's go.
Essentially, these guys have over 10,000 HP. Well, you might notice my Killia's attack is not 10,000. It is around 4,000, more or less. And the reason we can do over 10,000 damage to these guys is because of the Geo effect, which gives attack plus 50%. The sword, the skill I'm using is a sword skill, and these guys are weak to sword. And the water pistol does make my all non-elemental attacks water. And these guys are very weak to water.
So even though he magic changed Usalia to Killia's sub-weapon, he still maintains the passive bonus of the water pistol. I personally think it's really cool how you can route in something like the weakest gun in the game due to a convenient little thing that it has and still make some sort of use out of it. There's a whole lot to tinker with in this series. The other nice little benefit of this particular map is one of the geo symbol effects is experience plus 100%. So he had to come unlock this specific stage to grind, and it happens to be one of the best grinding spots. He's doing this mainly because now that he has changed his character's subclass, he needs to level that subclass up in order to get really useful abilities for both Killia and Usalia. But also, this also has the nice benefit of bringing his characters up to level 300.
Right. So as soon as I finish this stage 14 times, we will get the subclass ranks and the levels we need to just breeze through the rest of the game. Now, we are going to also face a lot more opposition, and we're going to see a lot more of the speed tech that opens up later on in the run. Because while squad attack is a very powerful ability, there are actually more powerful abilities that allows us to go much faster. All right, so if you have one more donation, go ahead.
All right, I have an anonymous $150 donation. No comment, but thank you very much for your generosity. Do we have time for another?
Sure.
Okay, we have... Oh, where'd it go? We have $25 from General Prinny. Hey all, been a long-time fan of the Disgaea series, so figured it was a great time to donate. Gotta get the limited edition bundle. Good luck, dude.
Thank you, dude.
All right, so now that the grind is done, I'm going to buy some equipment for Salia because her attack growth isn't as high as Kilia's, and she needs all the attack she can get at this point. So right here we're gonna fight a lot of zombie enemies. These zombies will die in one hit because we're obviously way over leveled now compared to them. So I'm going to just move Kilia to very specific spots to line up these zombies properly. So right here I'm going to Hellfire Shot this group and then wait right here. And then what that's going to do is these two Chimeras over here will line up nicely so I can kill both of them with Vacuum Slice X. And that's important because while these two are out, my stats for Kilia will get lowered by 10%. Now, Squad Attack is a very powerful ability, but it does get weaker the more units there are in the squad, so I need to trim down the zombie army a little bit before I actually use Squad Attack. And just like that, we cleared off over 10 enemies.
Bye-bye.
All right. So right here, we're going to sacrifice our Prinnies to force revenge mode on Kilia. And then we're going to actually use...
It actually stopped. So this is the one time in the run we use one of Usalia's damage skills, just so that, well, one of the few times.
It's a 3x3 area of effect skill.
I just love it for that animation alone, but it's also really effective as area of effect clear.
So just like that, I believe there's about 25 enemies in this stage, and we just cleared them like nothing. So that's the power of Squad Attack and AoE skills. Now, right here, we're going to use Kilia and Usalia and split them up. Usalia is going to take care of the units that are up here, and Kilia is going to take care of the rest of the enemies down there. And there are enemy base panels we have to deal with, so hopefully after a few turns we can take care of all these enemies. Then I'm in revenge mode, so I can use Squad Attack to wipe out a few more. Alright, so it's just gonna be me attacking these zombies for a bit until they're all gone. So you want to throw in another donation?
Most certainly. We have a $500 donation from Ton. Can't watch live, so here's some cash, dude.
Thanks, dude.
And another.
Sure.
We have $30 from Age. Hello from the Disgaea Discord. We're all rooting for you, so sacrifice some Prinnies to appease the great Asagi. Dude.
So right here you see there's these zombie rabbits in our carrot patch, which we most certainly don't want. This whole chapter, there's sort of like the peaceful netherworld that's been taken over by the evil necromancer who basically caused Usalia to go berserk and kind of zombified her parents, as we saw earlier.
They're very weak though, so that we just Hellfire shot them and they just die in one hit.
Yeah.
So there's not much to worry about.
Yeah, so this next chapter we're going to have to deal with that necromancer. Gamesswag, you want to go ahead and elaborate on it?
Yeah, so go ahead.
Necromancer?
Yeah, this is a very tough boss coming up, so I actually have to back out of the map select screen and then do some very specific upgrades for Salia. So I'm gonna upgrade her Braveheart skill to +2, which gives her more of an attack boost, and then we're gonna put her on top of the party. Okay, wrong arrangement. Let's see, Kilia should go up here. All right, now we're good.
All right, so coming up there is an extremely difficult boss.
That's not Bloodus.
Yeah, it's specifically not Bloodus. That's how you know it's a difficult boss.
Right.
And so it takes a whole lot of strategy and teamwork, and we have to make sure that we know exactly what we're doing at all times because, we won.
That's it. That's it.
Right. That's it. That was the boss fight.
Yes, so because, like, in the story of this game, characters kind of, the character development is realizing the power of allies and friendship, and what that ends up translating to as their sort of, like, story benefit in the gameplay mechanics, actually, is that's how they get their overload. Usalia just happens to get hers there. It's not normally as strong as Squad Attack, but because we have so many levels and a bunch of buffs stacked there, it ends up being quite a lot.
So what her overload does is it attacks every single enemy on the map. it doesn't matter how high they are or where they are. It's just going to straight up attack everything on the map. And just like that, we cleared the stage. And of course, we're going to be exploiting this overload heavily throughout the rest of the run.
Yeah. So you'll also notice that he pulls her out immediately and then puts a bunch of units right next to the base panel. The reason for this is Usalia now has an ability that she gains plus 20% attack for each ally that she is standing adjacent to, and this stacks. So that ends up being an 80% bonus to her damage.
And we can't use the overload strategy here because the geo effects just do not let me set up this strategy properly. So we're just going to have to do the old-fashioned way and just pursue the enemies and destroy them.
Yeah, so these barrels explode, and because these enemies, like if you throw these enemies into the barrels, it just causes a chain reaction domino effect where they all just blow up.
Because they magic change with some Prinnies.
Yeah.
Right.
And so they gained the Prinny's ability for
Just
that.
like that, I stood next to them and they blew themselves up, which is nice AI there. All right, so we've explained the mechanics of the overload. The one thing that's important to know about the overload itself is that you need to be in revenge mode in order to actually use it. So what we're going to do is, what we're going to implement is what I call the triple S strategy, and that stands for sacrifice, stack, and slaughter.
Yeah, so first he's going to sacrifice units to get revenge mode, and then he's going to stack buffs by placing units as well as sometimes casting Braveheart, and then just slaughter enemies, usually with Usalia's overload. Which, as you can see, even though we're several levels over, we didn't quite finish the boss in one go, so we have to kind of tower throw Usalia over to the boss of that level.
Right. And not all bosses are going to survive. Some of them won't, like in the upcoming stage. So we're just like last time, we're going to use the sacrifice strategy. So here's the sacrifice step. Okay, so all the sacrifices are dead. Now we get revenge mode, so we're going to stack our buffs like so, and then we're going to slaughter everything.
You'll also notice that he pulls Usalia out, puts her back in the base panel, then pulls his units out. A character has to actually be on the map in order to get into revenge mode.
All right, so for this upcoming stage, I'm going to unlock and recruit some of these Celestial Host classes because they are very useful buff unit. Every time a Celestial Host is next to an ally, they buff those allies up by 25% attack power. So as you can imagine, it's a very useful support unit to have. So we're going to make 4 of these to have enough to surround Usalia with all 4 of them if needed. We're not going to use all of them for most of the stages, but it is very important to have 4 of them to stack up those buffs as high as possible.
And that also stacks with Usalia's Evil Tea that gives you 20% for each adjacent ally.
Right.
So you're just putting stacks
right
on
here,
stacks.
we're going to just use the sacrifice strategy, the triple S strategy again. So if I wasn't clear enough the first time, I'm just going to try to hammer it into your heads here. So there's the sacrifice step. Allies are dead. Now we get revenge mode. So now we're going to do the stacking step, which is just surrounding Usalia with units to buff up her attack power. Then we're going to slaughter everything. And that's the end of that stage.
That stage in particular is really annoying because there are enemies that are really high up that you have to kind of like throw a bunch of boxes and kind of chain things together to get up there. So being able to wipe them out from the base panel is extremely convenient.
So once again, sacrifice. So sacrifice, stack,
What's my name?
and then slaughter. So that's most of what we're going to do for the rest of these upcoming stages. So the thing is, though, I am positioning my sacrifices in a very particular way so that they will all get killed on the first enemy turn in as little actions as possible. So that is how we route out the sacrificing part for most of these stages. It saves a few milliseconds or seconds here and there, but as I said before, in a game like this, every second counts. Losing like 5 seconds on a single stage is a huge deal in this game, considering how short this speed run can get.
You'll also notice he never throws the Prinny, and that's because, if we haven't touched on that yet, Prinnies explode when you throw them.
And they do not give a revenge meter when you throw them, so it's not a feature that we will want to use here. Okay, so the boss did survive, and that's normal. Now we're going to see a very useful another effect of Usalia's Overload. So when you attack an enemy and they survive, Usalia will swipe in and just hit the enemy for whatever with a regular attack.
Yeah, she just does a follow-up attack no matter how far away the enemy is. So right here, Killia has sort of a corrupted side that kind of finally gets unleashed right now, and this just gives him cheat modes where he just has infinite turns and just one-shots everything on this level.
Right, and that's the end of that episode. Pretty short, about 18 seconds if you do it correctly.
Nothing personnel, kid.
Where would you like to go, dude?
All right, so we're going to the next netherworld, which is Flowerful. It's a very outdoorsy area. And we're just going to be using the triple S strategy all throughout these stages. So if you want to read some donations, go right ahead.
All right then. We have $15 from Big Zaz. This Disgaea 5 run is going so fast it hurts my eyes to look at. So I'm just going to take a break from watching and assume you're doing great.
Let's end this quick.
You can always watch it in slow motion if you want.
Just listen. Slowly.
That is probably how I would recommend most people learn the speedrun of this game. If they are thinking about picking it up, just watch a video in slow motion or like half speed. I think that would be slow enough to follow.
Maybe quarter speed. It's pretty quick.
So also, he picked up a item called the Leafy.
I didn't equip it.
Oh, you didn't equip it? Oh, okay.
I think it's fine.
Yeah, should be fine for now. Know that shortly. There's an item called Leafy Fan, which is going to equip that.
It's like the water pistol.
Yeah, water pistol, but for wind and for monsters. And this is useful because this area's netherworld effect is wind resistance goes down by 50%.
For everything, allies and enemies.
Right, if I would had it, it would have been very effective in stage, but I'm gonna get it. We really don't need it for this stage, because at this point the enemies are pretty weak and can be disposed of easily still. Alright, so at this point we're going to get to where Killia unlocks his overload, and it's a very cool overload. It allows him to act 3 times in one turn.
What should I do?
So this is where we fight Bloods again. He's a lot tougher than before. So we're gonna do we did our sacrifice step. Now we're gonna do our stacking step and our slaughtering step. Blood survives because he's a boss, and then we're gonna go use his newly earned skill, Vidya Holy Water, to just destroy Bloodis. And right there you see Usalia swipe in, hit Bloodis, and kill them as a follow-up. So tag teaming the bosses with Killia and Usalia is very useful to clean up anything that survives the overload. Alright, so we are coming up to the shortest episode in this run. It is no more than 3 minutes, if you can believe that. Casually, this might be one of the longer stages, but in this speed run, this is one of the shortest. Okay, so this is one of the instances where Killia is actually faster to use than Usalia, because in this stage, squad attack hits everything, so we can actually skip the stacking step of the triple S strategy. So we just go right to sacrifice and then slaughter.
I love that animation, by the way, of just the Silver Slugger.
Alright, so right here is just another use of the triple S strategy. So you sacrifice, and then you stack, and then you slaughter.
Yeah, this Netherworld effect is really annoying because it'll randomly, or it'll target your characters and you have to move around in order to attack. So the nice thing about this strategy is we don't actually have to move around very much because that takes 2
All right,
turns.
very
and we wipe
important
them out.
stage coming up. We're going to be fighting a whole army of Prinies, so you know what sound Prinies make. So we're going to hear a lot of it in a bit. So
Gonna ask for some audience participation at this part. We're gonna count it down, and when we say go, we want everybody in the audience to yell, "No, dude!"
All right, go ahead.
3, 2, 1, go.
Dude. Thank you.
All right, so right here, I'm going to split up my sacrifices because there are wrestlers here, and I don't want Usalia to get lifted, so I just use my sacrifices as bait, as well as being sacrifices to force revenge mode and not let Usalia get lifted. And we just slaughter everything just like that. Goodbye.
Do we have time for one very quick donation?
Sure.
We have $100 from Mr. Cab 208, which says, oh, can you guess? No! Dude.
What's my name?
No!
Dude.
Actually, that's wrong. I should not be throwing them. That's my bad. All right, so got our sacrifices, and then we just stack and slaughter. Okay, so the boss survived because I don't have the Leafy Fan. They're ready to win, by the way. So we just clean up the rest. Okay, so at this point, we're going to need to upgrade Usalia's weapon because we need some extra attack power to kill one of the upcoming bosses in one turn. So we're just gonna buy this Lamia's coil for her, equip it, and then just go on to the next stage. All right, so let's see here. We're gonna be facing some enemy base panels again. However, the sacrifice strategy is gonna allow us to get through, no problems. Okay, so right there, sacrifice strategy. Sacrifice, and then you stack the buffs.
I'll never let anyone feel pain.
Okay, bring up Usalia, stack the buffs, and then slaughter everything, just like that.
Their enemies like on the complete opposite end of the map there. So that mission was one of the longest ones in my casual playthrough. So just wiping it out in about 40 seconds is really darn quick.
All right, so there's a boss in this stage, and I want to kill this boss in one turn. So we're gonna use the triple S strategy as normal, and then we're going to have these celestial hosts throw Usalia to the other end of the map to reach the boss, and then we should be able to one-shot him with Berserk Scream, and that's the end of that. So that's why we need to buy the better weapon, because we would not be able to one-shot to kill this boss in one turn if we had a weaker weapon. And this is just another use of the triple S strategy, so if you want to read a few more donations, be my guest.
Certainly. We have $2,500 from Games World Player.
Woohoo!
Longtime viewer, big fan. Thanks for the many funny and entertaining streams. It shows that people can change something together in the world. Greetings from Germany.
All right, we can do a few more. This is just another triple S strategy stage.
Okay. We have $25 from Overlord Knives. I've been a longtime fan of Disgaea since I was 12. It's awesome to finally see the game being demolished so quickly. Show them how real demons do it, dude.
All right, so we got another match with Bloodis, and this is one of the few instances where Killia is actually faster than Usalia, because we're going to get to see Killia's overload in action, and that, as mentioned before, allows him to act 3 times in one turn. So we're going to use the overload right now, and then we're going to make sure he has a good weapon ready, and we're going to use squad attack, which wipes out everything but the boss, and then we're just going to hit him a couple times with a Vilia Holy Water, and that's the end of that episode. So just like that, we are on the last episode of the speed run.
Yeah. You see these little preview sections there in between each chapter. We unfortunately don't get to watch them, but those are honestly some of the most amusing parts of the game. I would say this series is one of the few RPG series that has an element of humor, and those are probably some of the best sections. So it's honestly just worth playing these games for the humor value in a lot of it, because it's just these are just such goofy games.
Do we have a moment for a quick note?
Sure.
So we are just a little more than $2,000 shy of that NISA incentive. And how much
Okay.
time do you think we have left in the
There's
run?
like 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
We can do it.
No.
Well, I could postpone it a little bit.
Yeah, we do have the
5 to 10 minutes.
yeah, we do have the a DLC incentive as well. We could do before.
Right.
Yeah, so we got a little bit more time than that.
Okay, so this enemy did survive. Sometimes that can happen. We probably just got a bad damage roll because we were using Cristo, but as you can see, Killia just cleans up these enemies that survive, so that's not too big of a deal. So right here, I'm going to set up my sacrifices in a line so I can avoid seeing this really long skill animation from these horseman enemies called 13 Knights. And just like that's one of the examples where proper routing can avoid things like skill animation. So there's a lot to account for when doing the routing of this speed run. So I'm guessing they survived because I don't have a wind element weapon equipped, but that's not a big deal because they just get demolished anyways. All right.
I'm gonna eat you, dude.
Yeah, this chapter he would have the Leafy Fan removed anyway because there are enemies here resistant, and he
Right.
wants to wipe out enemies because it's a very big stage. There's also these really annoying enemies that are up super high on elevation, so it's nice to have a ability like Usalia's Overload because that actually will hit targets regardless of elevation. And done.
Okay, so this stage we are going to face the antagonist of the game, Void Dark, and he's a little more complicated than the other stages because we have to do a little bit of setup first before we can defeat him easily. So I'm going to make this stack of units, throw them towards where Void Dark is, and then I'm going to pick up this Horseman unit that's behind Void Dark and toss him to the side. And the reason we need to do that is because in the next turn, the Horseman is going to magic change with the nearest unit, and we don't want him to magic change with Void Dark because doing so will offer him like a 50% resistance to physical attacks, and we really don't want that because he's got a lot of HP. So we just have to sit through these skill animations, and then our sacrifices are done. So we just do the slaughter step, the stacking, the slaughtering, and then you hit the remaining unit with a squad attack, and then we're going to go hit Void, hit like that, and then we're going to use this new skill that Killia gets to finish him off.
Ultimate demon technique. Ultimate
Giant rainbow Dragon Ball Z laser beam.
All right, so that's the end of that Void Dark. So
There's
his
that-
evil energy does remain,
Let's go.
so we have to fight it off.
In this level, there are there's a boss and 4 bits, and each bit has a minus 25% damage reduction to the boss. So we have to kill off those 4 bits before we can kill off the boss.
Yeah, the bits are those crystal enemies there. You can't damage the boss as long as all 4 are alive, so we just need to eliminate them. Alright, so we're gonna use the overload to weaken the bits a little bit, and then we're gonna Braveheart Killia. And then I'm gonna go use a squad attack on the bits. And then I'll end my turn, and the boss will move closer, then I overload, and I will get behind the boss, and then I'll just use Macrocosm on the boss 3 times.
When the
We
boss
can't-
dies, time is coming up.
Okay,
Time.
so that's time. Alright, there's this little cutscene here that I want to show. Okay, so he's gonna Falcon Punch next turn, so people
Sure.
wanna do it?
Sure, why not?
Alright, and now.
Falcon Punch! Sure.
And that's the end of the boss. The evil energy has been dissipated. The world is saved. Yada, yada, yada. So now we're going to enter the post game. So interestingly enough, with the post game, we actually, I'll show it in a bit. We actually unlock all this stuff when we enter the post game. So you can see there's a lot more to do. And these features, as fast as the speedrun was with the triple S strategy, it kind of falls off in the post game, and there are actually a lot faster strats to use, if you can believe that. But unfortunately, we don't have time to show off most of the post game, so we're just going to do the DLC scenario. So which DLC scenario are we doing? Mr. Announcer, what's the DLC scenario?
Oh, the DLC? We've just closed that, and by just about the same margin, it's going to be Laharl from Disgaea 1.
Okay, so we're going to get Laharl. So he has a girl form, so we're going to get girl Laharl, and then we're going to get regular Laharl. Don't ask why there's two different Laharls. That's just...
It's something that happens in Disgaea D2. It makes a lot more sense in context.
All right, so we're just going to do the DLC scenario to get the main characters of Disgaea 1. So this scenario is simple. It's mostly utilizing the triple S strategy again.
As amusing as it would be to just throw one Prinny and cause a giant domino effect, this is a little bit more efficient.
And there's his special skill.
I really love the sound effect combined. The ah ha 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 ha, no, dude.
So you wipe out the Prinnies with the slaughter step with the Salvage Overload, then we just clean up everything with Cilia. Okay, looks like Laharl survived, but that's the end of him. And then in the next stage, we're going to fight Flan, who's another Disgaea 1 character.
Let's go.
And we're just going to use the same strategy, which is the sacrifice strategy. So we don't really need Cilia this time because the overload of Lusalia will just destroy everything. So that's her special skill.
As you can see, this game really takes itself seriously.
Leave it to me.
Okay, so I just need to stack my buffs and then slaughter everything. And that's the end of that stage. And then the last stage, we're going to fight 2 units mainly.
I'm gonna eat you, dude.
So we're going to fight Flan in her transformed state. If you want to know what the deal is behind that, then you should play this guy at D2 for the PS3.
Let's go.
Really the kind of nice thing about the series is while they do reference each other, you can basically play almost any game in any order. So if you're looking for a place to start, usually Disgaea 1 or 5 would be my personal suggestion. It's just honestly a really fun series to just mess around with, I think.
And we also fight Laharl's sister, Cicely, who's a very tanky unit. So we got our revenge mode. For some reason, the revenge meter gain is very low on this stage. So once we get revenge mode, we're going to squad attack, and then we're going to use Killer's Overload to defeat the rest of the enemies with Killer's 3 actions, and at the end of the Disgaea 1 DLC.
All right.
So did we meet the NISA incentive?
Unfortunately, we did not. We still raised $3,025 for it, though.
Okay, it was worth a shot. So sorry, NEP fans. No NEP this GDQ, but maybe next time. I guess you guys didn't want it hard enough.
It's all good. Thanks so much for your donations.
There is one last thing I need to do before we close this run. So we did all that in an hour 20, so 80 minutes, and we cleared like over 110 stages. So this is quite a speed run.
Would you like to know the final time?
1:16:31.
Okay.
Yeah, my PB is 1 minute and 10 seconds. I have 1 hour 10 minutes. Sorry, 70 minutes is my PB.
So that was A lot of the practice runs were somewhere around the 119 range, so that's actually been probably better than our average run
distracted. So my PB is 70 minutes, and I actually just got it a few days ago before I left for GDQ. Because RNG, while this run is not very RNG heavy, RNG can still cause me to lose time, and just that particular run, RNG just happened to line up perfectly. So that was a nice send-off before I came here to do this. Now, let's see. I would like to do some closing words, and then we're going to do our last little bit and then end this run. So I just want to say this is an excellent speed game to try out if you want to learn the fundamentals of running an RPG, because all you need to do is know how to menu fast and know the game mechanics and how to use them. So if you want to learn how to speedrun this game, we do have a Discord server for Disgaea speedrunning. It's not a very active community right now, but hopefully some more people will join. And you can find the Disgaea speedrun Discord server by going to speedrun.com, going to Disgaea 5 page, and I do have the link there. And I also got a lot of resources available to learn the speed run for this game. I've got written guides with pictures up for them, and if you want to help improve those guides, then join up and let me know if there's anything I can fix. Because it is tough trying to route a single game, let alone a game as complex as this by yourself. Because I've been pretty much the sole pioneer of this game, because I started running it last year. Because I really loved this series and thought this would make a good speed game. So even though we used 2 characters in this run to carry us through, it would not be possible without the help of our allies. So give a round of applause to the allies, because they are really the true heroes of this run.
Thanks, dude.
Thanks, my dude.
And just like this game, even though I did all of the routing and most of all the attempts of this game to get this game to GDQ, this run would not be possible without everybody behind me. So give yourselves a round of applause. You all deserve it. And one last thing, this game, I feel, represents possibilities. If a game with a reputation that for being as grindy as this game can get into a GDQ, then I feel like most games can get into a GDQ if you just look hard enough and explore the game's possibilities and really push the game to its limits. I feel like I've done that with this game, and I am really happy with the work I put in. So, also, I do speed runs of post-game content of this game. So if any % was not enough for you, you can head to my Twitch channel to watch some post-game runs, and if you want to see the crazier ways to break open this game. Now,
Including an all trophies run coming up.
Right. So I'm going to do one last thing, then we can close this run.
This will be real quick.
Yeah. All right. So unfortunately, Ball was the toughest boss in the game, was not selected as an incentive. So I'm just going to show off what the hardest boss in the game is and what he's capable of. So
yeah, he can basically, as soon as you exit the base panel, do immediately 20 billion damage. 2 billion damage.
So this is Ball, Carnage Ball, the toughest boss in the game. You can see all those stats and how high those numbers are. So we're going to try to fight him and see what happens.
I love the pretty names.
All right, everybody, just scream it out.
No, dude.
All right, so got a game over. We got a trophy, and there's the platinum trophy. So that's all the trophies in the game. If you actually want to see this boss get beaten in real time or get all the trophies in real time from scratch, then I guess you can check out my Twitch channel. And that's all I have to say about Disgaea 5. Hope you enjoyed this run, and have a good rest of the marathon, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Once again, shoutouts to GreenZSaber for his run of Disgaea 5 Alliance of Vengeance. Coming up just shortly will be Pikmin 3 featuring 360 Chrism. In the meantime, let's take a moment to thank one of our sponsors. Power Up Audio is an indie sound studio from Vancouver, Canada. They've worked on games such as Celeste and Crypt of the Necrodancer. Their entire team is here at SGDQ, including Jeff, Joey, Kevin, and Cole, and they are donating their time on sound 24/7. So big thanks to them. Fangamer is a video game merchandise company designing and producing official goods for Dark Souls, Undertale, Persona 5, and more. All profits from GDQ merchandise sales are donated to Doctors Without Borders. New official merchandise from Dark Souls, Undertale, Persona 5, and Hollow Knight, and more are available on fangamer.com/GDQ. I have $50 from Mona and Jason. Hello! We wanted to thank you all for everything you do. This amazing event shows what can happen when gamers unite. I have $100 from Segfault174. Can't wait for another great week of speedruns. Shoutouts to MSF for all the work they do. Good luck to the runners. I have $20 from Zeroatu. Sign Squad, best squad, dude. I have $25 from Zeto Viker. This event is one of my favorite ways to spend my summer vacation. Keep up the great commentary, dude. I have $20 from Hoodless Mads 46. First donation of the marathon. Good luck to everyone. We have a bonus game as an incentive for the marathon. Mega Man X2 is almost $10,000 of the way to $25,000 that we're looking for to have that game run. If you're looking for other donation incentives, well, one that's particularly interesting to me would be from Skyward Sword. Gymnast will be doing a blindfolded fight with Demise. If we hit $15,000 towards that incentive, we are currently at $3,433. I have $25 from Rabid Biscuit 173. Hey dudes! The original Disgaea is the reason I'm such a huge fan of tactical RPGs, and I loved watching Disgaea 5 get destroyed for a good cause. Also, Girl Laharl, best Laharl. As a reminder, there are some prizes available for certain donation thresholds throughout this time block. For $20, you are entered to win an NES Classic. For $5, you are entered to win some Fire Emblem Perlers, including characters such as Lyn. For $15, you could win Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valencia, a very nice-looking special edition. $10 would enter you to win the Enter the Gungeon bundle. And for $25, you can get the NIS America Limited Edition bundle. And of course, for a cumulative total of $150 throughout the entire marathon, you're entered to win an 8th generation console bundle plus a gaming PC. If you're interested in any bid wars throughout this marathon, we have one coming up for Simpsons Hit and Run. You can choose the language. Currently in the lead is German with 1726.99, followed by French, which is pretty close with $1,425.40. And then following kind of behind, we have English with $457 and Spanish with only $20. In a much, much closer race, we have the Castlevania Bloodlines character choice. Currently in the lead is Eric Lecard with $490, but following up very closely behind is John Morris with $470.99. We have $25 from Prime Explorer. I'm so pumped for the Pikmin 3 run. The Pikmin series is near and dear to my heart, and it connected me to my boyfriend. Good luck to Chrism. The donation goes to the Mega Man X2 run. We have $5 from Bryant116. Been watching for years and finally able to leave a donation. I love watching every year and seeing the amazing community and runners. Thanks for the amazing times, GDQ. We have $15 from Rox133. Hey everybody, Rox here. Finally got a debit card yesterday just in time to donate to this amazing cause. And what better time to donate than during the person who has probably influenced me the most in getting into GDQs and speedrunning in general, 360 Chrism. Good luck on the run and using Olimar. Wait, why is Olimar blue? We have $25 from Air Angel 15. A few of my friends work with Doctors Without Borders, and this is a great cause to support. It makes me happy to see the gamer community come together for something greater than ourselves. Keep gaming, keep loving. All the best from Portland. Summer Games Done Quick 2018 is sponsored by the Yeti. They've been supporting Games Done Quick events since 2012, and they are the official merch sponsor for Games Done Quick. You can get official SGDQ tees and more at theyeti.com. I have $150 from Jaeger243. Hey, Games Done Quick, keep up your good work. And now, without further ado, here's 360 Chrism with his run of Pikmin 3.